Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. Today I want to show you how you can set up openMSX, specifically with the target in mind if you want to run Metal Gear MSX here, or of course Metal Gear 2 in the MSX2 version, not the PS2 HTC version, not the Wii version, specifically for the MSX computer. It's quite different and we have 3 different categories here for these 2 games. So if you want to participate on these boards, which are definitely not empty, at least, well, soon, once we get verified, then I definitely want to invite you, learn how to set up openMSX. It's not too complex, and of course all the necessary files and commands that you need to work with that as well. So let's begin. Of course, we start here with openMSX itself. When you open the website openmsx.org, and of course all the links that I'll talk about will be in the description down below. You see here the latest version is 80.0. I recommend just using the zip version so you can move around the file as you want, but you can also just freely install the emulator in the system. I'm going to use the zip version for demonstration purposes. Now that I downloaded this, I also need a second file. In the description down below, there's a link to this msxarchive.nl. We're going to download the systemroms.zip file. I'm going to copy those from my downloads folder on my desktop here. On my desktop, I'm going to make a new folder called simply openMSX. I'm going to open openMSX and I'm going to open the zip file where MSX is contained in. I'm just going to mark all these files and copy them over here. There we go. From the systemroms.zip file, you can open this. And in the openMSX folder that we made, we go to share and system ROMs. As you can see here, there's system ROMs, there's system ROMs. We can just drag the system ROMs folder and put it in this share folder. And what's inside, you can close the zip. What's inside here are machines, extensions, and miscellaneous. Important for us are the machines, because these are basically the machines that we want to emulate. And thanks to the system ROMs collection here, we can now emulate all these different manufacturers and their MSX computer versions. You can now go and of course delete the zips here. We don't need them anymore. Now, if you take a look at openMSX here, if you just launch it like that, it will ask you, hey, do you really want to run the software? I'm on Windows 10, so it might look different if you're on Windows 11, but it should work on both platforms. Of course, we will confirm to run them anyway. And here we go. openMSX starts right away with the C BIOS. C BIOS is basically a BIOS that's open source and reverse engineered from developers here for openMSX. When you want to, of course, have software working here, it's for homebrewing. If you want to make your own MSX games, you can use that. We specifically, though, have interest in using machines. And there are 2 different ways how you can set up a custom machine, or use one, of course, of the official ones. So we can either press here the option button on your keyboard. It's right next to the right control if you have like a standard keyboard like I do. If you're on a laptop, maybe this button is different, but this is where you could go down with the arrow keys, confirm with enter, and then change the machine. And then with a very long list. What's way easier though is using Catapult. So let's close this here and we go into the folder where it says Catapult. And then there's bin, and then with the catapult.exe. When you first launch Catapult, the same thing applies. You want to go more info and run anyway. This window will open here and then ask you, where is your openMSX executable? So click the 3 buttons. I'm going to go, instead of where I have it here, in this case I'm going to go to my desktop. So I'm going to go desktop. On my desktop I'm finding the folder that I have, which is openMSX. And in openMSX I'm clicking this file here. So Catapult wants to make a link to this exe file. Simply click on it and then go to open, or you double click it, it's fine. And then we have to check here for working hardware configurations after closing this dialog. Since we already put in the system ROMs into the share folder, openMSX can now use that share folder and its machines to set up, the other machines. And with Catapult, that's a little program where we can organize them. So just let this check be in here after you selected the executable and go on OK. And Catapult will now automatically go through all the machines that we have listed and will put them into either working machines because it's found all the expected files, or machines not working. Since we use the system.rom.zip file, we have been able to basically use all of these. It's going to take a little while, but in the meantime, as we wait here, we're going to come back quickly to the speedrun page. Since the goal here is specifically to be able to participate in the speedrun board for Metal Gear MSX on the MSX2 PAL or MSX2 NTSC board, or of course for Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake MSX platforms, we have to take a look quickly at the rules. If you want to run Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 on MSX, you have to use a specific machine, which is here the Panasonic FS A1WSX machine for NTSC emulation. In the case of Metal Gear 1, there's also a PAL category separated. For that, you need to emulate a Philips NMS 8250 machine. These are the 2 machines that we need to emulate. All the others, at least when it comes to our speedrun purposes here, are not interesting to us. So as we can see, we have already over 200 machines working. We can actually make the list shorter by just doing one adjustment. So I'm going to actually cancel it quickly and close Catapult, which it actually does. So we're going to get to this in just a second. Going back to the openMSX folder and share. So you can of course keep what we have here. If you want to use MSX also for different machines and different applications, different games, different leaderboards, who knows. Just when it comes to Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2, when you go to machines, you can basically just delete all the ones that you don't need. So I'm going to go and mark all of these. I know I need a Philips machine and a Panasonic machine. All the rest I'm going to delete. And inside the Panasonic folder, I can also mark all the files again. And I can uncheck the ones where I know, okay, this is the system that we need. So specifically, it's these set of files with A1WSX in there that I know I can leave, the rest I can delete. If I go back to machines and Philips, the same thing applies here. The only thing I need are the NMS 8250 files. And from these 60 and 90 files I actually don't need as well. So all I need, I'm gonna go and mark these. I'm gonna mark this. These are all the 8250 files. And the rest I'm gonna delete. Going back up to the openMSX folder and opening Catapult again. Catapult now has already found our exe. Now this will be empty for you, so I'm just gonna quickly throw these out. And you will see now, there we go. There's been a check done already. All the other machines that we just deleted are gone. You can also go to settings and edit the configuration again and have it check again just to be safe. I'm gonna do that quickly here. This time you see the machines will be tested and machines not working. And the cool thing about Catapult is all the machines that are not working will automatically be hidden. So you can pick from your MSX type, drop down here only the ones that which is good for us because when we do speedruns, we only have, as I said, only 2 machines that are interesting for Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. Of course, you can, as I said, you can leave the other machines in there. But we have some focus right now, and that's on these 2 games and leaderboards. Now I copied over here the 2 ROMs for the games. RC750 is Metal Gear, RC6 is Metal Gear 2. Solid Snake. So these are the ones that we're going to use. Catapult has now done all the checks. We can just go to done. We will refresh everything, and then if I go to the drop-down list, nothing has changed because it already checked for the machines that are not working. Funnily enough, it also inserts the 8245 and the 8255 machines, but of course only the 8250 machine is interesting for us when we do PAL runs. I'm going to focus mainly right now on the Panasonic FS-A1WSX machine, which is important for the NTSC runs of Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, of course. And the very simple way how you can do all the settings in here is using Catapult. Catapult, on closing, will actually save all the settings here. Just make sure the checkmark is set here for settings. And we're just gonna go and launch now Metal Gear 2, for example. Alright, we go to cartridge slots, card A. I'll click this button here, I can browse the ROM image. I can go into my desktop, and then there we have the 2 ROMs here. I'm gonna open this here. And once this has been inserted, it will also be available in the drop-down menu here. You can also click this button here to immediately open this folder again where the other ROM was contained in to quickly swap them out. Now, when you go over here for video controls and other controls, you see they're all not used. So when you go session, you want to start the machine first. And as you can see here at the top of the screen, it always says Panasonic FS-A1WSX, and it will also boot into the BIOS correctly. That's all we need basically to set up the machines. It's super easy. Just copy them into the folder, have Catapult scan for them, and then just select them in Catapult. It's that simple. And now that openMSX is running in the background, we can go in and change also some settings if you want to. Now, fast forward speed I think was set to 2000 initially. If I want to fast forward for practice purposes, I set it to 300%. That's basically better for my purposes. I would also recommend turning off joystick port 1, so make sure that all of these are empty. You can control the games entirely with the keyboard. The main keys are the arrow keys, spacebar, and the N button, and also the F keys on top, so F1, F2, F3, and so forth. I can show you later also with AntiMicroX how you can use controller to map them towards the keyboard, which maybe makes it easier for you to access all the important controls. For now, there's one more thing that we need to do. Let's check the video controls. I have some recommended settings that I have here for you. I always start with SDLGLPP as the renderer. Scaler might be set to 1 in the beginning, and you can see how small this is. Right, so I usually just go to 4. I have a 1080p monitor here, so 4x makes it almost fill the screen, and it will be still pixel accurate. The rest basically stays as it's here on screen. And my scanline settings are set to 10. It's barely visible on the recording, just makes the image look a little bit darker the more you have. For the internet, probably no one can really tell. It's more of a setting for yourself because of compression and everything on YouTube. The scanlines are barely visible. Blur, set to 0. I don't want to have any blur here. This may be more accurate with a little bit of blur, but you know, I want to have a crisp image after all. The glow, you can set, but I also left it all the way to 0. The gamma is set specifically to 1.0. It's usually a little bit higher, I think, from the get-go. Of course, there's also noise here, which gives you the TV image. But I mean, if we're having emulation here, I personally want to have it to 0. So these are my settings: 10, 0, 0, 1.0, and 0. And it's all we need. Audio controls, you don't need to touch necessarily, and input text and status info are just for information. Once again, just make sure the MISC controls joystick port is empty here, or else if you use a gamepad, for example, with a basic key joystick 1 here, it can happen that if you use AntiMicroX, where you have your inputs for the keyboard, it will both accept the keyboard input and the gamepad input. So making sure that these are empty, that's the important bit. Alright, you can now close this, and because we closed it and have the settings set on, when we close the game, all the settings will be saved. So once I start this again, all the settings are still active. And we still have the video controls active as we had before, and same with the MISC controls, and it will boot right away into openMSX. Now you can run this game already like this, but at least for Metal Gear 2, there's one issue. In Metal Gear 2, we have saving and loading as a key strategy. And for saving and loading, we need to make a disk drive. Now, disk drives you can find here, disk A and disk B, but the problem is you need to specifically make a file first. So how do we do that? Well, I link specifically here the MSX Resource Center, where we have different ways how to make a floppy disk that can be used then as a disk drive. There's also a setting here specifically for openMSX, and we're going to use this disk manipulator setting to make ourselves a little disk drive. It's technically very easy, and I'm going to show you how. First off, I'm going to close openMSX, and I'm going to eject the cartridge. I'm going to start it again without any software in here. Now we're basically just boot into the BIOS of the machine, and this is how it looks like. Now we can use console commands if we press the F10 key on your keyboard. That will open up here these console commands. And in order to make a disk drive, it's very simple. We use the command disk manipulator create. Now you need to insert the path towards the folder where you want to insert the disk. In my case, I'm going to put it here into openMSX and share, and just drop it right here. How to get the file path? Well, if I click on Windows Explorer here, it automatically changes and gives me the full file path. I can copy this, and I can now insert this with Ctrl-V back into the console. The only problem is that it uses backslashes, and we need to use the forward slashes. So swap them out, and I'll go back to the ending. Of course, your disk drive needs a name. I'm literally just going to call it empty.dsk. And then additionally, you need to put in a number, which will be important for the formatting of that disk drive, which is 720 in my case here. Just going to hit enter. And then when you open back up the folder, there we go. Now empty.dsk is in here. It's 720 kilobytes big. More than enough to work with Metal Gear 2 and using saving and loading. Now I can close openMSX again. I can go back to cartridge A, reinsert the ROM, and now at disk A I can browse for the disk image. Simply go to openMSX and the share folder where we made this empty disk, and now it's inserted. Now if I hit start here on the machine, we're going to quickly start a run, so we get in-game, and then we can test the saving and loading functionality. Alright, so we're just going to hit space here on the intro. This is also when timing would start, as soon as you hit space. Now we'll load in. Now we're going to skip this intro here by just mashing N. We'll automatically go through the intro bits here. And audio is working, I'm just not recording it right now, by the way. Alright, so now if I click F5, I have here the save dialog. I can press spacebar and then go down to disk and save to one of the 3 slots here. I'm going to save now to Snake 1 with spacebar, and we'll say save complete. You can see with the FTD indicator that the disk drive has been used, and now it has been updated. Press F5 again, and now you can see also if I press F5 yet another time and go to load, we will now load from this disk drive and reset. For Metal Gear 1, that is not an issue. There is a technology where we save load a glitch, but for this one, we don't need a disk drive. It's only for Metal Gear 2. Speaking of, let's quickly swap this out. I'm gonna go and open the RC750 file here. We're still on the NTSC machine. Just gonna hit start, and I'm gonna leave the disk drive in there. It doesn't do anything in Metal Gear 1, it's just there. So we're quickly launching Metal Gear in the Panasonic FS A1WSX, and it works right away. Alright, so simply mash N again, and there we go. And here's a cool trick that we can do. We can pause with F1, save with F5, we're gonna escape and unpause. And what this does is we're not actually saving here. That's why we don't need the disk drive for Metal Gear 1 speedrunning. But, for example, this little glitch allows us to reload resources. So if I go into this truck here, go in this truck, there you go, opens the ration, wonderful. If I pause, save on F5, escape, and unpause, the resources reloaded. That's basically what we do. That's how we can quickly gather our stuff here. So if I go to my equipment select, I see 3 rations now. And that's how this little trick works in MSX. And that's why we don't need a disk drive, because we're not actually saving, we're just reloading the level here to get our resources back. Alright, one last thing, of course, I'm going to show you quickly also on the same level how you can use the PAL machine. So I'm going to switch over, drop down to the Philips NMS8250. And I'll start again. Didn't change anything, just swapped out the machine. It now says Philips NMS8250 on the top here. Now, there are different cartridges, by the way, for Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, but for the most part, the MSX software itself is region-free. So I can use the same cartridge here to play Metal Gear 1, both on the NTSC machine and the PAL machine, as we've seen, and what it basically does just from PAL, it's gonna run slower. That's all there is to it. It's literally the same software, same tricks apply, it just runs at PAL speeds. And yeah, it's definitely slower. Oh yeah, also very important for the speedrun rules, as it says here, show rules. The machine name must be shown at some point in the run. ROM patches are not allowed. ROM patches are not allowed, that's fine, but machine name must be shown at some point in the run. If you don't want to like full screen capture like I do here to show at the top, there's a nice little command. Press F10 and then go and type toggle info panel with underscores in there. If you do that and then hit F10, it hides, and then you have this little window at the bottom. Now what is cool is you can also bind this little window towards a toggle with a key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same command. I'm going to go bind Control plus D and then type toggle info panel again. Hit enter. Oh, I haven't typoed. Bind Control plus D toggle info panel. Hit enter. Hit F10. And now if I press Control D, I'm going to hide and show it, because you maybe just want to show it in the beginning to confirm, all right, this is a Philips NMS8250 machine with the Metal Gear software in there running at 50 FPS. That's all you need to do to make this legitimate. If you don't want to capture the entire screen, but only the window, where you don't have the Windows bar on the top. Super easy to do. And what's cool is, if I close this and change back, for example, to the NTSC machine, I can use it right now and just hit Control D again, because this bind has also been saved. I'm going to leave the command, of course, in the description down below. Simply hit F10, insert the command, hit enter, then F10 again, and then you can just use Control D to turn this window on and off. Super simple way to verify which machine you use, so it's legitimate for speedrun.com. Okay, but this is all you need to know in order to speedrun Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 on the openMSX emulator. Quite simple to do, I just need to do some research on how to do all these things. Before we leave though, one last thing, so I'm going to show you how you can use AntiMicroX to bind your controller for free to your keyboard. This will make controlling the game a little bit easier and also more comfortable for people that don't want to have awkward, big distance between your spacebar and your F keys. Simply download it here under releases, and the link of course will be in the description down below. And you can either use the portable Windows AMD64 version or just the Windows AMD64. Doesn't matter too much. I'm going to use the portable version right now because all the software that we loaded so far is of course portable. And you can simply open this, drag this folder over here. And now I'm going to connect my Xbox controller, which is the easiest method. In AntiMicroX, we're going to open the bin. I'm going to open AntiMicroX. If you want to have it easier, just create a shortcut. And with that shortcut over to your desktop, I'm going to quickly rename it so it's just AntiMicroX. I'm going to open it. We'll confirm once again we want to run this. And there we go. This is how AntiMicroX looks like. You can have your whole setup here for all the buttons. And since I have already connected my gamepad, you can see if I move the sticks or the D-pad buttons, everything here lights up. And a very simple way to set it up for Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. In my case, I'm going to hit A with space. Just close it, and now you see A, this layer, which is space in German. SETI always translates as layer. This is the space bar. The B key I want to have as the button N. And then the third interaction for Metal Gear 2, if you want to crouch this, by the way, both buttons together. That's A is just you do there, and then B is just N. And then crouching in Metal Gear 2 is both buttons together. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to set the triggers here to the two menu items. So L trigger I want to have to the item menu. I'm going to click on here and then there's no key. You just go to F3 and then close. And then right trigger I want to have F2. You can pause, press the pause button. Just hit this with F1. And then if you want to save and load, I have saving actually here on the L shoulder. So I go here, set this to F5. The codec button is on back for me, and that is F4. And last but not least, now on an Xbox controller, you can also use the guide key here to set it to escape. Escape is necessary for Metal Gear 1, for example. Just know if you have Steam open in the background and you press the guide button, it probably will launch the big picture mode if you press the guide button. So make sure that Steam is off for this entire thing. Well, you can set it to, of course, the arrow keys. As you can see here, up is here, so I'm just gonna do this. Keep it down, will be down, right, will be right, and then left will be left. Right, so press here left is going left, up, right, down. We have F5 here for saving on the left trigger. Oh, sorry, the left bumper. On the right bumper, we can also set it to escape here on this one. We don't want to use the guide button. both works basically. The left trigger is F3 for the item menu, and the right trigger is F2 for the weapon menu. I set A to space, and then B to N. I recommend actually saving this profile. You can either put it in your documents folder, or if you want, you can also put it right there. It is in the AntiMicroX folder. I'm gonna call this Xbox to MSX so I can find it again. And you can basically minimize this program, and it will be hiding now here in your taskbar. I'm just gonna close it here. It will be gone from the active bar, and it will be hiding here in your taskbar. You even need to open it again, click it, and it will open. If you don't need it, just hide it, and it should still work. And now, for example, I'm going to show you how everything works. I'm going to go to Panasonic FSA1WSX. I'm going to open up Metal Gear 2. And I'll also quickly show you my input viewer, as you can see here, to confirm that all the buttons that I just did are actually working as expected. So you can press here. Once you have to be in focus of this window, by the way. If I press X now, it will work as the spacebar, and it will launch the run. And if I want to skip the dialog, you have to mash circle here or B on the Xbox controller in order to skip the dialog. If you want to use any other controller, such as a DualShock or DualSense, I can recommend a different tutorial that I made that actually aims to have these controllers work with Metal Gear Solid 2. But the whole idea is, if you have a Sony PlayStation controller, you want to first translate them and change them towards an Xbox controller for Windows, and then route this through AntiMicroX. And here we go. So yeah, spacebar is just space, and then circle is punching. Space in this game is the attack key, and circle is the punch key. And as I said, both together are then crouching. Now, of course, if I hit the left trigger, we open the equipment menu, that's F3. If I hit the right trigger, that's the weapon menu. If I hit the left bumper, that's the save menu. And then the right bumper, of course, would be escape, which we don't need right now. If I press the option button here, that is pausing for F1. And then F4 is our codec, which I can open here by hitting the select key. And that's it. That's how you combine all the buttons from a controller. You can also do this if you want to. Let's quickly show that. You can additionally also set here your stick if you want to the arrow keys. Works the same way. Just close them. Right, down, left. I can minimize this again, and now I can also use my stick. I personally like to play this on D-pad. It's more precise. But yeah, this is how you can also use your left stick, for example, or even your right stick if you want. And yeah, this will set up. I'm gonna show it again on screen. I will upload this also to the speedrun resources, same along with this video. So you can find this controller layout and later here on the Metal Gear MSX page for resources. And there I will have here also this file for AntiMicroX. And of course the same also for Metal Gear 2. I'm going to upload this AntiMicroX profile here on the resources page. And that should be everything you need to know in order to set up openMSX to emulate the two machines that we need to run Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 for the speedrun.com leaderboards. And also in order to use a gamepad that translates towards the keyboard controls, so you can have an easier time accessing all the different inputs that you need to speedrun this game. Thank you everyone for watching. My name is House. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot today. And of course, good luck on your speedruns. I'll see you on the leaderboards.